I've been living with iOS 26 developer beta for the last month or so, and with iOS 26 public beta releasing, meaning more people will be willing to risk it all and download the new iOS on their main device, I wanted to go over some hidden features that not a lot of people are talking about because again, the liquid glass UI and all those fancy new upfront changes are obvious, and of course people are going to want to play with those, but there's a ton of really small but useful features that Apple added that are really getting overlooked. So let's talk about the most underrated features of iOS 26 and let me know if you've installed the public beta. Let's get into it. But now before we continue, if you do enjoy these update videos, talk about all things iOS 26 and iPadOS 26, definitely consider subscribing to the channel to get more info like this in a timely manner. But now let's talk about the first feature, which is something I've been yearning for years. Let's get into it. Well, alright everyone, let's get right into iOS 26 and all the differences that I think people need to really know about that are kind of under the hood. So the first one is going to be all about Safari. So let's go to a random website and you can see that it does look a little different with, of course, the new liquid glass UI, which is something that, Apple obviously was been touting. And again, with the public beta or the latest developer beta, it has gotten a little bit more transparent. But what I want to show off here is just the new navigation of Safari. So it's much easier to use. Everything is right at your fingertips. You can double tap on here to go directly into your tabs if you want to. You have much more optionality over here. Everything just looks a little cleaner and a little easier to use. And again, if you go over here, you can add things to bookmarks, go to your bookmark menu, and this is what the new bookmark menu looks like. It's a lot more robust, it's easier to read, easier to navigate, and much easier to find things that you need to find. So I think the Safari overhaul has been absolutely fantastic, and it's been much easier to use. And I'm just hoping they add a little bit of Apple Intelligence kind of chatbot into here to make it a little bit more useful. Now the next one has to be all about the camera. So we go into our settings, go into our camera settings, so let's scroll up. Go into our camera settings. There are two new settings that I wanted to bring up which are going to be extremely beneficial, especially for some people. So the first one has to be this new lens cleaning hint. So it says displays a suggestion when the camera lens should be cleaned to improve image quality. And again, if you guys have anybody in your family that deals with this, where for some reason they like to take pictures with their brand new iPhone with a super smudged rear camera and gives you these kind of like glared or flary pictures, and my parents do this every single time. But now they'll be able to get some hints on the actual UI when there is a necessary need to clean the actual lens. So I do recommend always leaving that turned on, especially for your loved ones that need help in figuring out why they're getting this weird lens flare. And then secondly, it's going to be the indicators. So whenever you are recording something, whether it is a voice recording, a video recording, or taking a picture, you have these indicators that show up on your dynamic island. You can now toggle these off and on. So you have your action mode indicator, your live photo indicator, your flash indicator. You can turn these on if you want to, or turn them off, making it very easy to handle and kind of manage your camera settings. So overall, I think you got some nice quality of life improvements, especially, like I said, with this lens cleaning hint. So now the next one I want to bring up is going to be all about battery life. So as you can see here, if you tap on your display on your iPhone when it is charging, you get a new indicator that lets you know how much longer you have until you reach that 80% warning. And again, it's going to be only on the lock screen, and this is how it shows up in written text. I wish it was kind of like a meter or something a little bit more obvious, but that's just kind of what we're dealing with. The next thing is going to be in the settings. So I want to kind of go over the brand new battery UI because it is robust, it's beautiful, it's a lot more informative than it was before, and we already had some good information previously. So of course, we're going to have our time to full charge like I mentioned, and it even breaks it down that it takes 17 minutes to get to the 80% mark, and then another 2 hours plus if I do want to charge it to 100% because I do have that adaptive battery control on. And then you can break this everything down on a day-by-day basis as well as an app-by-app basis and on a 10-day running schedule. So if I view all battery usage, you can see that on a day like this, we'd at 148% of battery usage with about 9.5 hours of screen on time. The next thing I'm going to show off here is going to be your battery health. Now we've had this before, you can see that my maximum battery capacity is 96. Then you have your new charging indicators, so you can have a charge limit set up right here. I leave it at 100% because I like to have that on, but I also have optimized battery charging, meaning that it does give me to that 80%, and then it'll charge to 100 pretty much overnight. And then you have your power modes on. You can have adaptive power. This one is brand new. Adaptive power is when your battery usage is higher than usual. The iPhone can make small performance adjustments to extend your battery life, including slightly lowering the display brightness or allowing some activities to take longer, which then also turns on low power mode at 20% automatically. So again, these are all things that are there that are kind of new and meaningful, and that visually just looks so much more appealing. You can press the info button here, it gives you all the information that you will need about optimized battery charging. So the battery overhaul in the settings and all the use cases for me is a huge win. The next one actually has to do with your AirPods and AirPods Pro, and the thing with the AirPods Pro this time around is that we get 2 new features, and if you are in the public beta, you will also be on the beta version of your AirPods. The first one being that there's going to be an auto pause when you sleep, so the AirPods can detect if you have fallen asleep with AirPods in, that will then pause the music for you so you don't lose out on something that you were listening to, maybe a podcast or a movie or a video. And then secondly, the AirPods stock can be used as an actual play pause or record and stop record and an actual clicker when you are using the camera. So if you are far away or maybe you're doing a selfie video and you're all by yourself, you can just use the stocks of the AirPods and then be good to go to actually turn on and start recording, which I think was, again, something that I didn't think I would want, but something that I do see as being very beneficial. The next one is going to be in the Notes application. So the Notes application did get some new updates, which we talked about in the past, but if we click on something random over here, like this right here, you have the ability to now export it as a .mp or as a Markdown file. Now, I learned recently that a Markdown file is great for developers, writers, and even blogging workflows. So if you're somebody that maybe uses a Notion template, you can import a Markdown file. That's something that wasn't available before, but now that is available on the Notes application. Again, these are more underrated and under the hood kind of things that most people would really overlook, because again, we did get some new things into Math Notes. We got a new stylus that we have right here, which I like to show off. So we do have some new tools in the toolbox right here, but the Markdown one is going to be the one that not a lot of people know about. The next one is going to be for the people that use the podcast application. So if we go into the podcast, you go to your favorite podcast of all time, 9 to 5 Mac Overtime, or press the play button. And if you go into the actual player, you just have a lot more tight control of what the podcast in audio and speed controls are like. So for instance, if I tap on here, we get this new enhanced dialogue button. We get the ability to now scrub the speed, so you can go up to 2x speed. You can go even faster like this, so you can use the little meter that we've had in the past to slow it down, speed it up all the way to 3x. And then you can also enhance the dialogue right there if that's something that you do want to do, if for some reason it's a little bit muffled. So just tighter controls in the podcast application. And again, the UI just looks great, and you can even save the settings on a per show basis, which I love to see. So next is going to be in the Messages application. There are 2 huge ones that, again, I absolutely love, with one of them being something that I've been yearning for years. So the first one is that you can see this conversation is fully in Spanish, and while we did have some translation ability inside the Messages app before, you now have the ability to live translate. So for instance, I can download the Spanish translation, so now when I get these text messages, you'll see that underneath each text message, it'll give me the live translation in English. So it's not, I no longer have to highlight something, translate it, then replace the translation. It'll just show me in real time what they're actually saying, what is being said, and it supports all the languages that are supported via Apple. So now you can see down here that it says translating in Spanish, so you can see that you can view the Spanish and English, the English only, and then you can actually cancel that completely to stop the translation. So as text messages start to come in, you'll be able to translate them in real time with a little wording underneath the actual message in the language that you want to translate it to. And then the next big one in the Messages app is going to be the ability to highlight certain portions of a bubble. So prior to this, in order to highlight a certain portion of a bubble, let's say you wanted to copy it or cut it out, you had to highlight here and copy the entire message, then post it or paste it into your actual text edit button, delete what you didn't want, and then maybe copy the rest of it if you wanted to. Now you can long press select, and you can actually go in and highlight whatever you want or whatever you need. So you no longer have to take 18 million steps in order just to highlight and copy a certain piece of a text message that you're looking to get. So now the next one that people have been yearning for years, which is funny enough, is going to be your alarm. But now if I go in here and let's say I want to add an alarm, if I want to add an alarm for 9:46, I now have the ability to snooze it for more or less than the 9 minutes. Since the very beginning of the alarm clock application in iOS, you've been defaulted to 9 minutes. Now you can go all the way to 15, and you can even snooze it to just 1 minute. So if you want to be constantly awoken, so you don't have to keep snoozing and snoozing to make sure that you wake up on time, you can now set your snooze to 1 minute or all the way to 15 minutes if that's something that you want to do. And then also, funnily enough, Apple opened up the alarm clock API, meaning that now third-party applications can get into it and be able to use the alarm clock, which is something that wasn't available before, funny enough, but now it is available. And the last field I wanted to bring up is going to be one in the Passwords application. You can now, in the Passwords application, get a history of your old passwords. So if you are resetting a password, or maybe you need to, for security reasons, recall your last password before changing it, you can now do that in the Passwords application on a per app basis. And then lastly, I want to bring up a few things in the Control Center. So in the Control Center, we did add a few new things. So if you long press on this hearing toggle right here, you long press on it, you now have background sounds. We've had background sounds for a while, but they added a bunch of new ones directly on here, which again, I think is a welcome addition. The more the merrier when it comes to this kind of stuff. And then also, when you have much tighter controls over what you're doing when it comes to a sound standpoint. So here you have the ability to change the volume, turn off and on all your different kind of smart devices or smart speakers that you can control directly from your iPhone, which is something that I do welcome as well. And then the last one we got to talk about is going to be the new screenshot. So if we do our screenshot, we get a brand new UI, which we haven't seen before, and it has visual intelligence built into it. So the new thing is going to be highlight to search. So all I have to do is circle maybe, let's say this thing, it'll start to search it. We swipe up to see what the images say, and all it's basically doing is giving you a reverse Google image search, which you've had in the past, but now you're able to circle and manually look at different pieces of it, which is good to see. You can also ask GPT what you want to do in there. So tapping Ask GPT for more information by capturing and sending what's new. So we'll press continue. So we'll see exactly what it says. So it says you're looking at a screenshot of a smartphone displaying a Twitter feed. The highlighted tweet humorously compares Clippy. So again, it does work relatively well. It works as intended. I just wish there was kind of a running list, but then you also have your image search button, and then you have the ability to, again, check this off if you want to, delete it, this is the normal ones. But again, if you do want it to be saved, if you press X, it'll be canceled out. You want to make sure you press this button to save that screenshot to your photos or to your files or whatever the case may be. But that is all the differences that I wanted to kind of show off with iOS 26, or at least the under the hood ones that not a lot of people are talking about, with my favorite one maybe being able to select certain portions of an iMessage and not the entire bubble. But let's finish up this video. Now that will just about do for this video, everybody. As you saw, there's an abundance of features underneath the hood which really weren't talked about during WWDC that I've discovered over using it for the month-long period that I've had the developer beta on my main device. Again, this is all about the underrated features. It's not all amazing, and I'm hoping the public beta does add a little more stability in certain aspects, but for the most part, when it comes to my overall experience, it's been a net positive, and it hasn't been a huge detriment when it comes to the bug and performance issues that I've been dealing with, especially on iOS. iPadOS is a little bit of a different story, but again, iOS has been relatively stable and battery life has been decent on my 16 Pro Max. But again, that'll do it for this video. Do let me know in the comments down below if you're installing the public beta of iOS 26 on your main device. I'm always curious to know how many more people are willing to risk the public beta versus the developer beta. But that'll do it, everybody. If you made it to the end, leave a little dolphin in the comments down below so I know you made it to the end. And if you want to watch more videos like this one, check out one of these videos right here. Until next time, I'm Fernando. Peace, everyone.